Hello and welcome. You're watching Coronavirus Facts versus Myths. I'm Gargi Rawat. Let's get to the latest data. In India reported 26,727 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours. That's an increase of 13% from the previous day when the country had recorded 23,529 cases. At least 277 deaths due to coronavirus in the last 24 hours has taken the total fatality count to 4,48,339. Now, the active cases comprise of 0.82% of the total infections. That's the lowest since March 2020. The active caseload at present is 2,75,224, which is the lowest in 196 days. So the cases, as you can see, are low now. Now, India's cumulative COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 89 crore doses, 69% of the country's adult population has received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine, and 25% has taken both the doses. Remember, the aim of the government is for 60% of the population to be covered by both doses of the vaccine, and for that we need to be vaccinating at a higher rate, and in fact we need to be vaccinating over a crore a day if we're to reach those levels of vaccinating a sizable proportion of the population. So a big focus today is how do we look at these COVID numbers? Will COVID soon be endemic in India? Now, COVID has not yet reached that endemic stage. That's what many experts have pointed out, despite the situation, of course, vastly improving over the past 2 to 3 months. Though some experts have said that it could be endemic in around 6 months or so. So what exactly do we mean when we say a disease is endemic? That means the outbreak is present all the time, the disease persists and is difficult to get rid of. In totality, the rate of spread of infection is predictable. So some diseases that are endemic are malaria, chickenpox, viral hepatitis, AIDS and Ebola in various populations. Well, to talk more about this and explain it to us, we're now joined by Dr. Rachna Kochariya, epidemiologist, and Dr. Romil Tikku, Director, Internal Medicine, Max Healthcare. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us. And Dr. Rachna Kochariya, first to you, how do you read the current numbers? You know, earlier there was talk of a third wave. Now we're still waiting to see if we are going to have a third wave. Experts also saying that perhaps within 6 months, COVID will be endemic.
I would say, bottom line, it's hard to say. It's hard to predict for various reasons. One, because globally we haven't got rid of the virus. It's there. Certain areas of the world it's increasing. Even in our own country, we have certain hot pockets, Mizoram being one of them. So certainly, and we're porous. So we've all seen in March and before that how infective the virus is and how quickly it can get to people. So it hasn't gone away. And so it's hard to say whether it's going to become endemic or whether we'll see another spike like the one or less than the one or more than the one that we had in April. Tracking numbers sincerely is probably going to be the best indicator both for us to know as well as to be prepared. But what is on our side is that, as you said, the vaccination numbers are going up, though certainly not where they need to be. Only 25% of the population is vaccinated with both vaccines. We have a certain level of seroprevalence after this last wave, at least in certain areas of the country. And so that amount of, or people who've had the infection will provide some immunity for some months to come. Again, not definitive, but could be within the range of 6 to 8 to 12 months. So again, that also remains to be seen. Research is going on in those areas as well. So too long answer to your question of whether it's reaching an endemic stage yet or will we still have spikes like an epidemic, I think we have to wait and watch. We are in a better place, both in terms of knowledge, vaccination, preparedness, I would say, than we were in March. But we cannot slack off, and we have to not only have to learn from the lessons of March, become better and really get adept at getting the data, analyzing it quickly, getting it out to the public and moving like a swift boat, both the public as well as the officials.
All right, Dr. Romil Tikku, your view and the fear also is with the numbers being low and, and especially in some parts, Kerala, they're high, but in other parts, like even in Delhi, they're low, is that the public gets complacent then, and we do know we're now going into the festival season.
Well, there's a tendency for us to get complacent. We've seen last year what happened post-Diwali. And there shouldn't be a repetition of that. You can look at US. Even now they have 1 lakh cases a day, 2,000 deaths a day. We are doing well at the moment. We've had like less than 30,000 cases in the last 5-6 days. But that doesn't mean we get complacent, and we don't have to let our guard down. We know what this virus can do, and there's this threat of the third wave looming large on our heads. So we can't take it easy. We have to keep doing what we are doing, basically wearing masks, maintaining social distance, and at the same time be very aggressive with the vaccination. Because vaccination is the best bet against the disease, against the virus. And we are reaching some sort of an endemic state where the virus will be there throughout the year, but there won't be these spikes. See, our country is too huge, the population is too huge, and the changing demographics, there will be times when there will be a spike, a little bit of a spike in some states, and some states will have less numbers. But the way it's been presenting in the last whatever months now, it looks like we are heading towards endemicity. And the fact that 89 crore people have received at least one jab is a very positive thing. And if we are more aggressive with vaccination, I'm sure we'll be able to reach some sort of an endemic state. And herd immunity is basically going to take us through. And that happens only through either natural infection or through vaccination. And the way we're doing vaccination, more than 1 crore on so many days, and even 2 crores on a certain day. So we're doing well at the moment. Let's focus on vaccination. Till then, don't let our guards down. Just keep doing what we are doing. And
Right.
at some point, life has to get back to normal. Schools have to open. Let's focus on all that right now.
Sure.
And
Right, and Dr. Kochhariya, the fear, however, is the emergence of perhaps some new variant. Isn't that something that could spoil some of the predictions as far as COVID goes, which is why many are also a little reluctant to predict and saying that we should continue being wary about this disease?
Absolutely, you stole the words from my mouth, and that's what happened in April. Delta hit us really badly with such a high infectivity. And so with this virus, that also we have to have our guard up. And I know that we are doing a lot now for the genetic profiling of the virus as well. So data, and more data, and responding to that data in a quick manner, again, answers the same question you're saying, that could there be a new variant? Sure, that could. That is the natural behavior of a virus, that it will mutate and new variants will appear. And again, the fodder is also changing. More people are getting immunized, but not everybody yet. So that also puts different kinds of pressures on the virus to mutate differently. So again, watch and wait. It's not a voice of doom and gloom, but I would say it's best to be prudent, get very good data from everywhere possible. And I think as alert citizens, everybody keep that in mind, as well as their own personal measures that they're going to take to keep themselves safe and the community around them safe. Those two things have to go hand in hand.
Right. Dr. Tikku, now it's been amazing to see how quickly we got vaccines for coronavirus. And do you think in the next couple of months, perhaps we'll even see some sort of medication and drugs for COVID?
Well, I'm not too sure about the medication and drugs, though there's a lot of research going on, and hopefully in future we'll have something in our hands. But in the immediate future, I'm not too sure about that. But till then, vaccination is our best bet, as I said earlier. So vaccination is going to take us through. We should focus on the vaccination, try to get more and more vaccines, which have been approved in other countries. We've already given approval to the Moderna vaccine, Johnson & Johnson, and Sputnik. We're also already vaccinating people with that. So we should get focus on the vaccines, more and more vaccines, inoculate more and more people, inoculate the high risk, and the teachers, the support staff of schools. I mean, all that has to be looked into. And mind you, because the threat is always of the unknown, the virus is still evolving, it's mutating. What if we have the third wave? So, and because a lot of people have been talking, experts have been talking about the virus affecting children more, which is again a hypothesis, but we'll have to be prepared for all that. So vaccinate the parents, vaccinate the teachers and general public also, because our target is to reach 100 crores in the next 3-4 months now. We're left with 3 months now. And even if we extend it to March, and if we manage to inoculate majority of the population, I think we'll be through. We're doing well at the moment, and for the last 6 months, we've done pretty well. And I have no reason to say that we'll be in trouble. But again, having said that, we should not get complacent. The third wave is always a possibility. The virus keeps mutating, evolving. And if that has some monstrous mutation happens, we can be in trouble again. So keep doing what we are doing. And at some point, we have to get back to normal. Life has to become normal at some point. And we'll have to take a call at some point as to what is the right time to get back to normalcy. Is the threat of COVID still looming large, or can we just get back to normal, open schools and things like that? Because that is something which we'll be looking forward to, especially with kids being at home for the last 2 years. I would say we should be looking at opening the schools.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tikku, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
In fact, that brings me to the next topic that we're discussing. It's about school opening and children, and top medical body, the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, has said recently that schools need to be reopened in a phased manner, beginning with primary schools, followed by secondary schools, and allowed to remain open and safe with multi-layered mitigation measures. In an opinion piece published in the Indian Journal of Medical Research, the experts cited a UNESCO report which stated that shutting schools in India for more than 500 days have affected over 320 million children. Many states have opened schools in a phased manner. In fact, schools in Mumbai will be reopening on Monday for the first time in 1.5 years, and that's especially a big achievement given that we know Maharashtra and Mumbai were one of the worst affected by COVID. And this comes amidst demands from activists who say children are losing their future. Meanwhile, another piece of news that has emerged is that civic-run GS Medical College in the KEM hospital, 30 students tested positive for COVID there. Now the BMC has asked for more testing of students and their contacts to be done. Well, let's now go back to Dr. Rachna Kochariya for more on this. And firstly, Dr. Rachna, your comments on the ICMR report, which interestingly says that you should open up for junior classes first and, in a staggered manner with lots of care, but open up for junior classes first. And in fact, most of the schools have done it the other way around. They've opened up for senior classes first.
Well, I'll be honest, Gargi, I haven't had a chance to look at the detailed report, but I have glanced at it. And I think that they are basing some of it, and there's now lots of data coming in from all over the world. In the US also, schools have been opened, even the junior ones, maybe not all days, some days, alternate days. But there's something called a dispersion phenomena. So studies have been done, modeling studies, where it's been seen that this virus responds more to super spreader events. To put it very simply, if there's a large crowd like a mela where people don't know one another, then if one person is infected, they could go ahead and infect 80% others if people are not known. Whereas the transmission risk is lower if it's a family or a known group of people, let's say a workplace or a school. Remember, all of this data is still evolving. This is modeling data, not actual study data, but we have to go by something. As well as on the other side, as we know, that for children, not just the academic learning, the mental, social development, it hinges on being in a community environment, which is the school. So it's a big dilemma world over. We are not the only ones faced with it. And if you ask me personally, I think they should go ahead and open schools again. Alert, alert, alert. Nothing blindly, different communities, different cities.
And watch it very closely, isn't it, Doctor?
Yes.
And we're also joined by Dr. Sameer Dalwai, a National Joint Secretary, Indian Academy of Pediatric. Sir, your comments on the ICMR saying that schools should be reopened, interestingly saying that, junior classes should be reopened first, and that's something we haven't seen done, that it was done the other way around. Also, we've had this news of students in KEM hospital getting 30 of them being detected with COVID. And again, if you could explain to us, this is something that is going to happen. We need to track it very closely, but at the same time, be very careful and continue with the opening of schools, isn't it?
Absolutely. See, this is an unprecedented situation, and the honest truth is nobody knows exactly what is going to happen. So a lot of it is based on what is going on, the little bit of experience we have. It's been a year and a half that schools have been closed. We just cannot continue with that. We have to make a beginning. And hence, though ICMR, based on the UNESCO study, has recommended younger children because of the lower morbidity and mortality, what is also felt is that perhaps it's more difficult for younger children to maintain COVID-appropriate behavior outside or outdoors. Right. And perhaps it's going to be easier to make the older children follow COVID-appropriate behavior. And based on that, what we think is the right step forward, especially government of Maharashtra has taken, is to open schools in the rural areas from 5th to 12th and in the urban areas from 8th to 12th, because obviously there is much more crowding. If you see infrastructure in places in Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, in the cities, things are so crowded. So I think this is a welcome step. At the same time, we have reports from about 15,000 schools which had started in various parts of Maharashtra, maybe informally in the last so many days, and the results coming in from there are quite hopeful and quite positive. But of course, what you mentioned from KEM, so we have to weigh and go ahead with things as they come along, because we can't take any knee-jerk reactions. So I think let's go ahead with opening the schools, convincing the children and cajoling them, motivating them to follow COVID-appropriate behaviors. At the same time, explaining to teachers how they should motivate children to take care of this. But I feel, as a developmental pediatrician, the bigger important point is to consider emotional rehab for children in the schools. Let's not rush into syllabus completion and curriculum. Even now, I'm sitting in my clinic and we are seeing the various impacts of children that they have faced due to COVID. Children have gone also online and have got so much used to an online lifestyle. We need to understand that we need to emotionally get them back into a normal frame, into the regular schedule of schools. And that is what, at least for the next 2-3 weeks, we must focus upon the emotional rehabilitation of children in the schools rather than rushing to complete syllabus and tests.
Right, that's such an important point, not just rush ahead and, go on with the syllabus, and actually first get them back into the rhythm of things and help them. And yes, it's been a very difficult time for children, doctor, but I also think it's a lot of the parents also who need to be encouraged and cajoled, because I remember in Delhi when school opening was announced, a lot of the parent associations were upset, and I believe in Mumbai as well, very similarly, a lot of the parent associations are very concerned and worried about this.
You're absolutely right. It's a bit like the vaccine. If you force people, then it kind of makes them worried. And the government, at least in Maharashtra, has taken the right step not to make it mandatory but voluntary for the parents, because there will be some who will join immediately and there will be some who will want to wait back and watch. And we should have courses for all meals. So let those who are a little skeptical, let them watch the other children going in. Also, it's not just the parents. Some children don't want to go back to school because they've been used to a comfort lifestyle at home. They would watch the other children go to school and then they would connect, and then gradually even the children would feel motivated to go to school. I mean, you're sitting at home getting meals, sitting at your place, watching everything online. Suddenly children may not be so happy to go out and go up 3 floors in the school and things like that, but they will. We need to make a beginning, and I'm sure once they see their friends having more fun back in the school, they'll be motivated and they'll motivate their parents as well, while we take all the precautions.
Absolutely. Taking all precautions, that's key. Thank you so much, Dr. Sameer and Dr. Rachna, for joining me on the program.